Craig Hamilton Parker didn't just predict a crisis coming for William in 2026. He predicted the one crisis William survives, and the survival is what finishes Camilla. His vision ends with the country closing around William like a fist. One crisis, recorded, time-stamped, public, on tape before any of it began. Camilla cannot survive William surviving. Hamilton Parker predicts a moment that would break most reigns before they start. In his vision, William walks through it. He walks out stronger. Every rival shrinks against him, hers first. Metro calls him the new Nostradamus. His prediction that Andrew would lose his titles landed in the autumn of 2025. And the man his vision crowns? William, the boy who walked behind Diana's coffin at 15. But here's the thing Craig only pointed at, and a law spells out. This is not a death prediction. It's a document, one written in 1937. By the end of this video, you'll hear what Hamilton Parker predicts, how it actually works, and every reason Camilla is diminished by an event she has nothing to do with. Stay for the moment you learn who has to sign it. And near the end, the king who lived this exact story 2 centuries ago. A vision, a survival. A queen who becomes smaller the moment William becomes untouchable. Let's walk through it. Number 1. Craig predicted the power was shifting to William. That part, he got right. For years, Craig Hamilton Parker has told his followers the same thing about this reign, that it would be short, that Charles's health would decline, and that, in his words, the energy was already shifting to Prince William. Now be honest about the man. He also predicted, with a date, that Charles would die in early 2026. February came and went, and Charles is still here, and Craig was mocked for it. So we are not here to trust a prophet. We are here to notice that he pointed at the right man, William, and this video argues at the wrong crisis, because there is a way the power shifts to William that has nothing to do with Charles dying, and it isn't a vision, it's a law. So keep Craig exactly where he belongs in this story. Quoted, never trusted. We take one single thing from him, the direction. He said the power moves to William. Fine. Now put the crystal ball down and pick up the statute book, because the statute book is where the real story has been sitting the whole time. Number 2, everyone hears short reign and thinks death. There is a second meaning. When people hear a short reign, they think one thing, the king dies. But a reign can end in practice while the king is still alive, still breathing, still wearing the crown. He can become unable to rule. That is not a prophecy, and it is not a guess. It's a defined legal event, with a name and a procedure, written into British law almost a century ago. It's the one route to William's power that the psychics, the tabloids, and the copycat channels all miss, because it isn't dramatic enough for them. There is no funeral, no coffin, no date to get wrong, just a document. And that document is exactly where Camilla's future is decided. Everyone is watching for the wrong thing. They're waiting for a coffin. They're refreshing the news for a death that may be years away or may never arrive the way the psychics keep promising. And while the whole country watches the wrong door, the door that actually matters has been standing open in a law book since 1937. Number 3, this is not a death prediction. It's the Regency Act of 1937. Say it plainly, because it's the whole difference between this video and every fabrication in Craig's comment section. This is not about Charles dying. This is about a law called the Regency Act, passed in 1937, that has a switch almost no one has ever read. It sits in the House of Commons library. You can look it up right now. It sets out in black-letter law exactly what happens if a king becomes incapable of carrying out his duties. What it says doubles William's power over Camilla overnight, without a single day's wait, without a coronation, and without Charles giving up a thing. The prophet needed a vision to feel the shift coming. Parliament wrote it down 89 years ago, and unlike a prophecy, a law cannot fail. February can come and go. Charles can outlive every prediction Craig ever made, and the Regency Act does not care. It is not a forecast. It is a mechanism. Sitting ready, waiting only for a particular set of circumstances. And the circumstances are the one thing Craig actually described: a king whose health cannot hold. Number 4. If the king is declared incapacitated, William becomes regent, acting king. Here is the mechanism. Under the Regency Act, if the sovereign is declared incapacitated by, in the law's words, infirmity of mind or body, the royal functions transfer to the next adult in the line of succession. That is Prince William. He would govern as regent. Charles would remain king in name. He'd keep the crown, the title, the palace, but William would hold the power. Every decision the crown makes would be made by William. This is the part that should stop you. It needs no funeral, no coronation, no vote, no death. It's a switch, and when it flips, the heir who has no executive power today becomes the acting sovereign tomorrow. His authority doesn't rise, it doubles. No coronation, no abdication, no funeral, no procession. Just 3 signatures on one page, and the man who waited his whole life to rule is suddenly ruling, while the king who outranks him sits crowned, unable to lift the pen. Number 5. William goes from heir with no power to king in all but name. Think about where William stands today. He's Prince of Wales. He has a title, a duchy, and a great deal of public affection and almost no actual power. The king rules. William waits. A regency ends the waiting without ending the king. In an afternoon, William would go from the man who holds no executive authority to the man who exercises all of it. The crown stays on Charles's head. The pen moves to William's hand, and every rival shrinks against him, exactly as Craig's tape said, though not for the reason Craig thought. Because a regent isn't the heir anymore. He's the government of the country, in everything but the ceremony. Every red box, every appointment, every act of state. William's. The king keeps the robes, the regent keeps the country, and Camilla keeps neither. Number 6. And a queen consort has no role in a regency at all. Now watch what that does to Camilla. In a regency, the consort has no constitutional role. None. The regent runs the crown. The king's wife has no place in that machinery. She holds a small standing today only as a counselor of state, a role for the king's minor, temporary absences. And a regency supersedes the counselors entirely. So the one event that could have made Camilla the most important person in the palace does the exact opposite. It makes her irrelevant. William becomes the crown. Camilla becomes a bystander to it. She is diminished by an event she has nothing to do with, because the machinery of the monarchy simply has no seat for a consort when the heir takes the wheel. Number 7. Charles keeps the crown. William keeps the power. Camilla keeps neither. This is the cruel arithmetic of a regency. Charles is not diminished. He keeps his title, his crown, his place in the story. William is not waiting. He holds the whole authority of the sovereign, and Camilla is left holding a title with nothing behind it, in a monarchy now run by the son of the woman she replaced. Everything she is exists because Charles wears the crown and exercises its power. A regency splits those two things apart. Charles keeps the wearing, William takes the exercising, and the moment they split, Camilla's status is stranded, attached to a king who can no longer act in a reign now run by Diana's boy. Everything Charles built for Camilla, he built out of one material, his own power as king. A regency takes that power out of his hands without taking the crown off his head. The second it moves, everything he built for her has nothing left holding it up. Number 8. But a switch like this can't flip itself. Someone has to sign. Here is where it turns personal. A regency doesn't declare itself. The law names exactly who can declare the king unfit to rule, and it requires their signatures on a single document. So who flips the switch? It isn't the government alone. It isn't Parliament alone. It's a specific list of people, written into the 1937 Act, and 3 or more of them must sign for the declaration to take effect. Most people have never asked who is on that list. When you learn who is, you understand why this crisis finishes Camilla in a way no funeral ever could. Because one of the people the law empowers to declare the king incapable of ruling is Camilla herself. Stay with me, because this is the moment the whole video turns. The document that hands everything to William needs a signature from the king's own wife, and I'll show you exactly why signing it would end her. But first, the list. Because near the end, there's a king who lived this precise story 200 years ago, and the country ran that way for 9 years while he sat crowned in a locked room. Number 9, the 5 who can sign. One of them is the king's spouse. The Regency Act names 5 people who can declare the sovereign incapacitated: the Lord Chancellor, the Lord Chief Justice, the Master of the Rolls, the Speaker of the House of Commons, and the sovereign's spouse. 3 or more of them must sign. That spouse today is Camilla. This is not a rumor, and it is not a fabrication. It's in the House of Commons library briefing, in plain language right now. The wife of the king is one of the small handful of people the law empowers to declare him unable to rule. She is on the document as the wife, and the moment 3 signatures land on that page, William is regent. Read the list again and feel the weight of it. 4 officials of state and the wife. The law put the king's own spouse on the same page as the Lord Chancellor and the Speaker of the Commons, and handed her a pen. Nobody drafting that act in 1937 was thinking of Camilla, but it names her all the same. Number 10. She holds a pen that hands everything to Diana's son, and nothing to herself. Picture it. A single sheet of parchment, the declaration of the king's incapacity. 5 signature lines, a hand with Camilla's rings, holding a pen over the line marked for the spouse. And the moment the ink dries, everything she has passes to the son of the woman she replaced, and nothing passes to her, because a regency gives the consort no role. She would be signing the crown's power over to Diana's boy, and signing herself into irrelevance in the same stroke. That is the cruel symmetry the prophet only felt and the law makes exact. The one crisis that could have crowned Camilla's power instead erases it, and by the letter of a 1937 law, she is one of the people who could set it in motion. There is no more complete reversal in the whole story. The pen that could have been her greatest weapon is the one that ends her. Number 11. She doesn't have to sign. But it barely matters if she doesn't. Now she doesn't have to be one of the 3. The Lord Chancellor, the Lord Chief Justice, the Master of the Rolls, and the Speaker can reach 3 signatures without her. So her signature isn't required. But that's almost worse. It means the switch can flip whether she likes it or not. By 4 officials she has no power over, and the result is the same. William becomes regent and the consort has no role. So Camilla sits inside a monarchy where a document she cannot stop, and might even be asked to sign, hands the crown's power to Diana's son. She is not the author of this. She is not even the obstacle. She is simply the person it happens to. Number 12. And if you think this is fantasy, it already happened in 1811. 2 centuries ago, King George III lost his mind. Infirmity of mind, the exact phrase the modern law uses. Parliament passed a regency, and his son, the Prince of Wales, became Prince Regent. Here is the part that reads like the same script 200 years early. The king kept his crown. George III remained king at Windsor for 9 more years, until his death in 1820. While his son ran the entire country in his name. The crown stayed on the father's head. The power moved to the son. It isn't a theory, it's a chapter of British history, and it's the chapter the Regency Act was built from. This is the part the skeptics cannot touch. You can doubt a psychic. You cannot doubt 1811. It's in every history of the period, taught in every account of the Georgian monarchy. A king who kept his crown and lost his kingdom to his son while he lived. It happened. And the law was written to make sure it could happen again, cleanly. Number 13. The son ruled in the king's name for 9 years. The crown stayed behind a locked door. For 9 years, Britain was ruled by a regent while its king lived on, unable to govern. The son made the decisions, held the power, ran the state, and the father kept the title and nothing else. That is the precedent sitting under this whole video. A crown can stay on one head while the power moves completely to the next. It has happened. It has a date, and the machinery that made it possible was written down and kept, refined into the Regency Act that governs exactly this situation today. So when the prophet said the energy was shifting to William, he was describing something Britain has already lived through once. The difference is that this time, the wife in the story is the one the whole country already knows. George III's queen was not the story. This time, the king's wife is the most famous consort in the world, sitting one signature away from a regency that hands her nothing. The machinery is 200 years old. The woman it now surrounds is Camilla. Number 14. The switch is already written, and every line of it favors Diana's son. This is where it converges. Craig didn't need to see the future. It's in a law from 1937 and a story from 1811. A king can keep his crown and lose his power in a single afternoon. And one of the few people who could set it in motion is the woman who took Diana's place, signing everything over to the boy who was 14 when they took his mother's title. This is not a prophecy, and it is not a threat. It is the Constitution, and it's on the public record. The prophet pointed at a shadow. The law shows you the object casting it. Every line of that law, the regent, the doubling, the consort with no role, points in one direction, toward William, toward Diana's son, toward the day the power shifts without a single death. Craig felt it coming. Parliament wrote it down first. The vision was Craig's. The consequences are Camilla's, and the instrument that delivers them was signed into law before either of them was born. That was the crisis. Not a death, not a prophecy, but a switch written into British law in 1937 and lived through by a real king in 1811. It doubles William's power the day it flips. It leaves a queen consort with no role at all, and it can be set in motion by a document the king's own wife is named on. The prophet pointed. The paperwork proves it. But a regency only hands William the power. It doesn't tell him what to do with it. For that, he already has an older instruction, not from a psychic, but from his mother. Diana left William 20 warnings about the very woman Charles crowned, and he's acting on every one. If you want to see the list Diana left her son, that video is right here.